In the beginning, when you go silent, she doesn't panic. She assumes you're just busy or maybe trying to make a point. She's seen you reach out before after small arguments or moments of distance. So she convinces herself this time will be no different. But as the hours pass, the certainty begins to fade. The notifications that used to pop up on her screen, your name, your words, your care, are nowhere to be found. The comfort of your presence, the energy you used to bring, the consistency of your attention, all of it disappears into the kind of quiet she never expected to feel. At first, she enjoys the space. She tells herself she's fine, that she needed this. She scrolls through social media, goes out, distracts herself with the noise of the world. But eventually, when the distractions fade and the silence remains, something shifts inside her. That's when it starts, that subtle ache that creeps in when she realizes the silence isn't temporary anymore. See, your silence is not just an absence of words, it's an energy withdrawal. It's like removing oxygen from a flame that once burned bright. At first, the flame flickers, uncertain, thinking it can survive on its own, but soon it realizes without fuel, it fades. And that's what happens when she feels your silence settle in. It's not anger she feels, not even confusion at first. It's discomfort. She feels the imbalance, the attention she once took for granted has stopped flowing, and it makes her question why. She replays the last few conversations in her head, tries to find the moment where you started slipping away. Every ignored text, every delayed reply, every day that goes by without your presence, it all starts to weigh on her more than she wants to admit. And here's the truth: people only begin to appreciate something once they notice its absence. She never realized how much her consistency mattered until it was gone. The jokes, the late night talks, the subtle gestures of care, all the small things that made her feel secure have vanished. And in their place is silence that's starting to echo louder than your words ever did. She starts checking her phone more often, not because she's desperate, but because she's curious. Maybe you've changed your mind. Maybe you've forgiven her. Maybe this silence is just a test. But as days turn to weeks and she still doesn't hear from you, her curiosity turns into anxiety. What once felt like control now feels like emptiness. What once made her feel powerful, knowing you'd always come back, now feels like a loss she can't quite explain. That's when your silence starts to scare her. It's no longer about ego or pride. It's about realization. She begins to sense that maybe, just maybe, you've actually detached, that you're no longer emotionally tied to her the way you once were. And that realization burns deeper than any words could. It's not the shouting, not the arguments, not even the goodbye that breaks her. It's the quiet after, because silence forces reflection. It makes her see what she had and how easily she let it go. It makes her wonder if there's someone else occupying the space she once held. And the truth is, by saying nothing, you're saying everything. You're communicating strength, peace, and a level of self respect she didn't expect from you. So when the silence starts to hit her, remember this: it's not a sign of weakness, it's a sign of growth. You're no longer chasing her validation, and that's exactly what makes her start to crave yours. Because nothing messes with a woman's mind more than realizing the man she thought would always care finally stopped. And that's when the silence becomes your loudest message. After a while, she starts to feel the weight of your absence more deeply than she ever thought possible. The silence that once felt like her victory now starts to turn into her own prison. See, when you were always the one reaching out, checking in, making the effort, she felt secure in your presence. She knew no matter what, you'd always be there to catch her attention, to remind her of your care. But now that you've stopped, now that you've walked away with quiet strength, she feels the emptiness of a space she never thought she'd miss. She doesn't tell anyone at first, of course. She keeps up the act, posting pictures, smiling in public, pretending like life has moved on effortlessly. But when the lights go out and the world goes quiet, that's when your silence screams the loudest in her mind. She scrolls through her phone, maybe lands on your old messages, your photos together, those moments that once made her heart feel safe. She doesn't delete them. No, she keeps them there, not out of love necessarily, but because they still make her feel something real. In a world full of surface, level attention, and fake connections, you were the one who brought depth. And now that depth is gone. You've left behind a void, one that no amount of distraction or validation can fill. That's when she starts to realize the true power of your silence. It's not punishment, It's reflection. It's forcing her to see what she once had when you gave her your all and how quickly she let it slip away. At first, she tries to convince herself it's fine. She tells herself you're just taking time, that you'll eventually come back, that you always do. But the more she waits, the more uneasy she becomes because for the first time, you're not reacting the way she expects. You're not trying to prove your worth or remind her of what she lost. Instead, you're showing her that you've grown beyond needing her validation, that you found your peace in silence, and that peace is something she can no longer disturb. That's when fear starts to creep in, the fear that maybe she overplayed her hand, that maybe this time the silence isn't temporary but final. She begins to remember all the times she ignored your effort, brushed off your care, or made you feel like you weren't enough. She replays those moments not because she wants to, but because your silence leaves her with nothing else to focus on. It's the mind's natural response. When something disappears suddenly, it starts to obsess over its absence. And now her thoughts keep circling back to you. The what if this, the maybes, the regrets, they start to pile up until she can no longer pretend she's fine. You've become the ghost in her head that she can't ignore. Every time her phone buzzes, she secretly hopes it's you. Every time she sees something that reminds her of you, her chest tightens just a little. She might never admit it out loud, but your silence has become the most powerful thing she's ever felt from you. What she doesn't understand yet is that silence changes the balance of power. It forces her to see you from a different lens, not as the man who chased, but as the man who chose himself. And that's what makes her start to miss you differently. She doesn't miss the attention anymore, she misses the connection. She misses the safety, the laughter, the calmness you brought into her life. It's not just about attraction now, it's about loss. The kind of loss that hits when it's already too late. And that's the beauty of emotional detachment. It shifts everything because when you stop reaching out, she starts reaching within, and what she finds there is regret. And that regret is exactly what makes her start to chase. As time passes and your silence continues, something subtle yet powerful begins to happen inside her. The illusion of control she once held starts to crumble piece by piece. You see, when she pulled away, when she created that distance, she believed she could do it without consequence. She thought she had the upper hand, that you would be the one who'd break first, the one who couldn't resist reaching out. But when days turned into weeks and weeks into months without a word from you, that quiet confidence she carried started to fade. The silence she once found comfortable now feels heavy. It lingers in the background of her thoughts like an echo she can't turn off. And suddenly, she starts to feel something she never expected, uncertainty. It begins in the smallest moments. Maybe she's scrolling through her phone and your name catches her eye, not because you texted, but because she realizes it's been a long time since you have. Maybe she checks your social media just out of curiosity, wanting to see if you're still thinking about her, only to find that you've been living your life fully, posting less, focused more, smiling naturally. That's when confusion sets in. She thought you'd be the one struggling. She thought your world would fall apart without her presence, but now it looks like you found peace, maybe even happiness without needing her. That reality stings in a way she can't explain. The longer you stay silent, the more her imagination starts to run wild. She starts wondering who has your attention now, who's hearing your laughter, who's getting the energy and care that once belonged to her. That curiosity slowly turns into jealousy, not necessarily because she wants you back yet, but because she can't stand the thought of being replaced by someone else who sees your value where she once didn't. And that's the beginning of the emotional unraveling that silence creates. Your absence is no longer just physical, it's psychological. She starts to feel it deep within her. The pull, the discomfort, the realization that she's no longer in control of how this story ends. Then something else happens, reflection. She begins to remember not just what went wrong, but what went right. She replays the memories, the little things you did that made her feel special, the moments you stood by her when no one else did, the care that came so naturally from you. She begins to see how genuine your love was, how consistent your effort remained even when she took it for granted. And that reflection starts to turn into regret because now she's finally realizing that you weren't just another guy. You were the one who truly understood her. You were the one who stayed when others wouldn't. You were the one who tried, But here's the beautiful twist: your silence isn't meant to punish her, it's meant to protect your peace. It's your way of breaking free from the emotional dependency that once kept you stuck. You're no longer chasing validation, no longer seeking closure. Instead, your silence speaks volumes. It says, I'm done proving my worth. That's what makes her start to miss you in a way she can't control. Because now she's not missing the idea of you, she's missing the reality of what she lost. A man who cared deeply, who loved genuinely, and who walked away with dignity. The irony is, when you were always available, she couldn't see your value clearly. But now your absence magnifies it. Your silence becomes a mirror that forces her to confront the truth that her pride pushed away the very thing she needed most. And while she may try to distract herself, deep down she knows something has changed permanently. The silence she once thought she could handle is now the same silence that haunts her every night. It's no longer peaceful, it's piercing. It's not just quiet, it's a reminder that she may have lost the one person who truly had her back. And that realization, that quiet ache of regret mixed with longing, is exactly when she begins to miss you the most. There comes a point when she finally understands that the silence isn't a game anymore, it's a reality. At first, she might have told herself you were just trying to make a point, that eventually you get tired and reach out. But as time goes on and your name no longer appears in her notifications, something inside her begins to shift. She starts realizing that maybe this time you truly meant it. You weren't bluffing. You weren't pretending to be detached while secretly waiting for her to return. You've accepted the silence, embraced it, and built peace within it. That's when the fear begins to creep in. Not the fear of losing control, but the fear of truly losing you. She starts remembering the moments she once brushed off, the times you reached out to check on her when no one else did, the little details you noticed, the patience you had when she tested your limits. Back then, she assumed you'd always be there, that no matter how many times she walked away, you'd be waiting. But now, the silence has lasted too long, and her confidence in your return starts to fade. She begins to realize that the man she once thought she could always come back to might have finally closed the door. And that's when regret turns into panic, because it's no longer about missing your presence. It's about realizing she may never experience it again. In her quiet moments, she replays the last conversations, the final text, the last time she saw your face. She starts dissecting every word, every expression, trying to find clues. Was there something she missed? Did you sound different? Did you seem detached, calm, maybe even done? That reflection begins to weigh on her heavily, because deep down she knows she pushed you too far, took too much, and assumed your patience was endless. What she never expected was that the same man who once would have done anything to keep her would one day walk away and never look back. And that realization hits harder than any argument, any goodbye. As your silence continues, she starts to feel the contrast between the man you were and the man you've become. Before, you would have tried to fix things immediately. You would have reached out, apologized for things that weren't even your fault, just to restore peace. But now there's no effort, no chase, no message. You've evolved into a man who values himself enough to let go of anyone who doesn't match that energy. And she can sense that. Even from afar, she feels your shift, the emotional detachment, the strength, the calmness that comes from finally choosing self respect over attachment. That shift, more than anything, scares her. Because the moment you stop needing her validation was the moment she lost her power. She starts comparing every new person she meets to you, their tone, their effort, their consistency, and no one quite measures up. No one makes her feel as safe, as seen, or as connected as you did. That's when nostalgia begins to transform into realization. She starts to understand that what she thought was replaceable was, in fact, rare. You weren't just another chapter, you were the story she didn't finish reading. The more she sees you thriving without her, the more she starts to question her choices, why she pulled away, why she let her ego make the decisions her heart wasn't ready for. But now it's too late to rewrite history. The silence has done its work. It's not just the absence of words, it's the loudest message you could have ever sent, that your peace means more than her presence. And that, more than anything, is what makes her realize the true cost of losing you. Because when a woman finally understands that the silence is permanent, that the man she thought would always be waiting has moved on, she doesn't just miss you, She mourns the version of herself that let you go. And that's the moment she truly understands what she lost. There comes a stage in every man's journey when the silence stops being a tool and becomes a truth, a reflection of his growth, his peace, and his understanding of his own worth. By the time she realizes what she's lost, you're no longer the same man she left behind. You've evolved past the version of yourself that needed her validation, that over explained, that tried to prove your value to someone who couldn't see it. You've stepped into a new chapter of your life, one built on inner strength, focus, and calm confidence. And that transformation doesn't just change how she sees you, it changes how you see yourself. Because once a man experiences peace after chaos, he never craves the noise again. When she starts coming back around, testing the waters, liking old photos, sending those just checking in messages, you'll notice something different this time. Her words won't carry the same power they once did, and her presence won't shake your balance anymore. Why? Because your silence, your absence, your detachment, all of it forced her to see what life without you truly feels like. But it also taught you something greater, that you don't need anyone to complete you. You've built a foundation strong enough to stand alone. You've learned to fill your own cup instead of chasing someone who kept draining it. And that's the shift that makes her chase. She feels that new energy, the calmness in your tone, the unbothered way you carry yourself, the way your world doesn't revolve around her anymore. She can sense that your focus is on your purpose, your goals, your growth. And ironically, that's exactly what makes her start to gravitate back, because confidence, discipline, and emotional detachment aren't signs that you stopped caring. They're signs that you finally started valuing yourself. That energy is magnetic. It draws people in, not because you're trying to attract them, but because you've stopped trying at all. And in a world where everyone is desperate for validation, a man who doesn't seek it stands out. When she reaches out, she'll test your resolve, maybe subtly at first, maybe directly later. She'll want to see if the silence was genuine or just temporary. She'll expect you to respond like the old version of yourself, the one who would rush to reply, eager to rekindle something. But this time, you won't react from emotion, you'll move from clarity. You'll understand that her return isn't always a sign of love. Sometimes it's just curiosity, sometimes it's ego, sometimes it's regret. But regardless of her reason, you'll handle it with peace, not bitterness. Because when you've truly detached, her actions no longer have the power to disturb your balance. You don't need closure, validation, or explanation. You've already found all of that within yourself. The beauty of this stage is that you don't have to reject her to prove anything. You simply live your truth. If she's meant to be part of your journey again, she'll match your energy and meet you at your level. But if she's still carrying the same patterns, you'll walk away with ease, not out of spite, but out of respect for your own growth. Because real strength isn't about staying silent to win her back. It's about being so content in your silence that you no longer care if she ever does. And that's when everything changes, not just for her, but for you. You stop being the man who waits and start being the man who chooses. You stop being reactive and start being intentional. You no longer move out of fear of losing her. You move out of the certainty that you've already gained something far more valuable, yourself. And when she finally realizes that, when she sees that her absence built a stronger version of you, that's when she'll understand that the silence she once thought was weakness was, in fact, your greatest power. Because the moment you stop chasing the world, and yes, even she, start chasing you, there's something powerful about a man who can walk away and truly mean it, not as a tactic, not as a game, but as a reflection of inner peace. When you finally stop reaching out, stop checking her stories, stop hoping she'll message first, you're no longer waiting for closure. You've created it for yourself.
Yeah.
That's the turning point where everything shifts. She begins to realize that your silence isn't stubbornness, it's self respect. And that's when the fear creeps in, because deep down, she thought you'd always be there, waiting, hoping, holding on. But now, she's the one replaying old memories, wondering if she misjudged your strength. She's the one feeling that emptiness that she never expected to face. Your silence becomes louder than any words could be. It's not about ignoring her. It's about showing that your peace is worth more than any argument, explanation, or apology that never came. When a man stops trying to prove his worth to someone who couldn't see it, he becomes untouchable. You begin to glow differently. You focus on your purpose, your discipline, your fitness, your dreams, and the world starts responding to that new version of you. People notice the calmness in your presence, the confidence in your walk, the focus in your eyes. You no longer chase love, you attract it. You no longer crave attention, you command it effortlessly. And that's what begins to shake her world. Because here's the truth: she never expected you to move on without her. She thought her absence would pull you closer, that her silence would make you chase harder. But instead, it made you stronger. You took that pain and turned it into fuel. You stopped reacting emotionally and started acting with purpose. While she was waiting for you to break, you were building yourself. While she thought you were sitting in regret, you were sitting in peace. That's what scares her the most. Not that she lost you, but that she can no longer control the version of you she once took for granted. When she starts coming back, it won't be because she suddenly changed. It'll be because she finally sees what your silence meant. It wasn't weakness, it was transformation. It wasn't indifference, it was clarity. You didn't shut her out. You simply outgrew the need to convince anyone of your value. You gave her the greatest gift she didn't know she needed, the chance to feel what life is like without your presence. And now, that silence she once dismissed as cold is echoing louder in her mind every day. You see, when you stop chasing, everything starts aligning. Your energy no longer leaks toward the past, it flows into your future. You wake up focused, grounded, unbothered by what no longer serves you. You realize that love should flow naturally, not forcefully. It's not about winning her back anymore. It's about winning yourself back. Because once a man truly understands that peace is the most valuable form of power, he never trades it for temporary attention again. So when she finally breaks the silence and reaches out, you'll feel that calm certainty within you. You won't respond out of loneliness or nostalgia. You'll respond from strength, or maybe you won't respond at all. Because by now, you understand something she didn't. That walking away doesn't mean losing, it means leading yourself towards something better. And if she truly realizes what she lost, she'll return not to the man she left, but to the man you became, the one who didn't need her to complete him, but who became complete without her. And that right there is when she understands that your silence wasn't just absence, it was transformation. And it's in that silence where she finally begins to chase what she once thought she could replace.